Okay, I want to talk about GForce Oddity3 today. Um, see what I'm doing? I don't know if you can still see me. Yeah, we'll figure this all out. Okay. And what I wanted to talk about, I'm not going to call this anatomy of a sound, but I just wanted to talk about how I use the Oddity3 because it's a really useful plugin and I like it quite a bit. So the primary thing you could do is just use it as whatever, lead or supporting synthesizer instrument. Here's a sync patch that I did. I just basically did a quick modification of an init patch and saw lead. And then when you really push with the breath control, you get the oscillator frequency sweep for the sync. Which is a really fun effect. And what's really cool is when you have that layered with something else. Another thing I do with this is I'll do the cloud reverb thing. This is actually how I discovered the Sine Vibes hollow reverb, because it's real similar or almost the same reverb that they use in this plugin. So and I like it doesn't roll too much of the bass off, so you can get a little bit more of a drone-y sound out of this. The one thing it doesn't have is a reverb send. Otherwise, it'd be really nice to control with the pedal, like an expression pedal, where you could control the way it builds up. I'll just manually do that either with the decay time or the reverb amount. Of course, you can turn it off. And I consider the distortion a pretty essential part of the sound, although you don't have to use it. I do like the delay. I tend to not use this with additional effects, although I do have a live host patch that I do with layered sounds. So one thing I do a lot of is layered sounds with this. Let me put this back the way it was. As the reverb is back. I don't want to use that patch just yet. Let me see. Let me find a simple lead. Good old mini mode lead is always good. I'm gonna have to change a couple things real quick because I set this up for a different interface. Am I on? I don't know if I'm on. No, it's not on. Hey, it always helps to turn it on. Oh. Yeah, so sometimes I have an issue with the Steinberg interface where it does not like to let multiple applications use the sound card or whatever, the audio interface. Okay, so that's the mini mode. There's a bit of reverb hanging out there. I'm going to get rid of the black hole on this. And now I'll just insert Oddity3 real quick. Because if I run it inside the host, it'll work fine together. Okay, and I need an input for that. And I'm going to go back and grab my patch, make sure the reverb setting is the way I want. Let's see. I don't even have that many patches on here. I should do more. I kind of like the way that sound layers pretty good that way. And then what I do, so I do this a lot when I'm performing, where I'll just toggle it on and off. That's where if you had the expression pedal on the main volume here, you could do that. So I'll show both of the plugins real quick. And then I have delay and stuff on the mini mode. It's acting weird on me. So breath is going to the cutoff and the resonance of the Moog synth, and then it's only going to the filter frequency and then the coarse frequency for the second oscillator. So when you really lean into the oddity and you hear the oscillator sync sound, that's where in the layered combination it starts to become more prominent. So when you're just basically playing it, you're still getting the reverb cloud, but you don't really hear it as an additional sound so much. And then when you push into it, you hear more. And I think that's a kind of a dramatic sound when it works that way. You know, where the sounds work together and you're just taking a simple 2-instrument combination and, you know, finding multiple ways to play that sound. So in this kind of a situation, you know, and I'm using the Oddity3 to create the cloud reverb, you're almost using it like an effects pedal. And somebody said that in one of my videos or in a comment or something, I forget. And it's like, yeah, it does kind of work that way. And sometimes I'll use that hollow reverb plugin that I talked about in the other video, which is basically the same kind of reverb sound. You know, I use it that way, but, you know, I like having the second instrument for the layered sound. The other fun thing is, so I'm doing a different pitch bend on the two synths, which I haven't really done a wide pitch bend yet. So I'm sure I have the mini mode set up to do plus or minus 2 semitones. And Oddity, I usually do plus or minus 3. So what happens when you bend it up or down all the way, there's a rub. So you get this really, almost like horror music soundtrack kind of vibe to it because of the rub of the two pitches being a semitone apart at that point, when you bend it up. But when you just bend it up a little bit, it just slowly gets further apart, so it's almost like having like a chorus. Kind of microtonal. So that's another unique thing that I'm doing with that. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close that. I'm going to jump back into the live host. So I had a sound, I called it voltage modular oddity. Do I really want to save this? Yeah, why not? Yeah, this going through this process, doing the video reminds me of why I generally use my other interface for streaming stuff, because I like being able to, have the live host application running separate, and then you just launch the Oddity and it just works. But for some reason, the Steinberg interface doesn't really like to share. So let's see what we're doing with this. Oh, I don't know why it has that interface. Just doing a volume check real quick there. So yeah, this is a vector synthesis patch. And then you're not really hearing too much of the Oddity3 in this case, even though it is a layered sound. But what you're getting is that reverb cloud. And I guess I have it probably a higher level on this, so I'm getting mostly the cloud and not as much of the sound. It's about the same, but works really nice. Good for a Space Jam kind of thing. So you could do the let's change keys. And I've talked about this vector patch before, so one thing I like about it is so I have a slow evolution of it with the mix where it goes through the different cycles through the different combinations. The oscillator, this is where you get the fifth sound if you hold it. But if you restart the, if you re-articulate the note, it resets the, and you don't have to do it that way. So that's really useful because if you want to get kind of bass sounds, you know. You just keep playing and then it'll cycle more further through the sounds, but if you want to restart it, and you could easily do this kind of a sound adding the cloud reverb, you know, to the modular as an effect, which I'm going to do real quick. So I didn't have any external effects going on with that. That's way too much reverb. But I actually kind of liked it with the layered sound. I'm going to switch it back. Because it thickens up the fundamental a little bit more, because the oddity is just the single note. It's not, you know, it doesn't ever cycle through the other pitch. Oh, I still have it off, the input. There we go. And that's another thing you could do, is you could get the cloud going, and then you could turn off the MIDI input to the Oddity3, and then you could control what notes go into the cloud, which is really useful. So let's just push the decay all the way. And if you do it that way, and you could easily toggle that on and off with a foot switch, then what's happening is you can control more how the what notes go into the cloud, so to speak, and you can get more definition on the single note stuff you're playing without it building up all the you know, thick cloud, especially with the passing tones and with notes that are next to each other. If you just play notes that are all, you know, consecutive or chromatic, even, pretty soon you just kind of have a thick cluster of noise, which isn't bad, but so that kind of thing. Anyway, that's a bunch of different ways how I use Oddity, and I didn't even get into using it for pad sounds and all that, but you know, there's definitely, I'll switch off the MIDI input to the voltage modular, and there's definitely some really nice pad sounds in here too. Do I not have favorites? I thought I had a bunch of favorite sounds in here. It's not important, but anyway, there's a lot of good pad sounds in here too that you can use, and I do. You know, I tend to use those with my launchpad controller that's down. You can't see it without a frame, but I use them with that. Anyway, that's enough talking. But the point of all of this is that Oddity3 is a really useful plugin because you can almost use it as an effect and an instrument, and you know, it sounds good, and especially with the quality of the effects that are in it, it's really nice for things like pads and all that. I think when I first purchased that, I actually got it through the Alan R. Perlman Foundation thing, I don't know, 2022 or something, and you know, when I downloaded and installed the program and all that, you know, the first thing I always do is I just start going through, playing on the keyboard, you know, what the different presets are like, and it's like, wow, a bunch of the, actually I might have demoed it first, but anyway, a bunch of the sounds were really impressive. I was like, ooh, the effects are really good, and there's a lot of different ways you can use it. And, you know, that's the thing, you can always add effects to an instrument, but what you really need to have is the basic sound is good. And that's the case here. Like I said, I like that oscillator sync quality. And it's interesting because with the software, every instrument that has oscillator sync kind of does it a little differently or has different qualities of the sound. So, you know, I don't know, the Oddity3 is my favorite. I actually like the oscillator sync in Odyssey, the Korg Odyssey plugins. The oscillator sync is really good in those, but after that, I like this. I like the 2600 one that Cherry Audio did too. Sort of 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, and I'll kind of alternate between those when I want to go for a you know, ARP kind of lead sound. I'll use any of those three quite a bit. And in voltage modular, and you can kind of see it in there. I also had on the side, I had the synth voice module, which is another ARP based module too. So yeah, I definitely use those quite a bit. I think that's actually thickening up the sound of the basic patch in just voltage modular. Because I think the original sound of that preset, because I didn't change it a lot, but the original sound of that preset was nice. But then what I did was I tweaked it up with the effects and then adding in the synth voice to thicken it up, and then so it's almost like a layered sound already, which is why it's so vibrant. I'm gonna play a little bit of that again without the Oddity3. Trying to see if I can get down here. Got a lot going on in this patch. I don't want that dog on it. There we go. Oh, my thing's getting loose. My mouthpiece patch. Yeah, it's just thickening it just a little bit. You can't really tell a whole lot, but you know, that's the basic sound, so it's already kind of a layered sound to begin with, and then I add the other layer in there, which has the oscillator sync, which the voltage module patch doesn't use, and then that adds a different quality, plus the pitch bend range is different, and then you have the reverb of the Oddity3, you know, adding the cloud, which you can also do with the other reverb plugin. So definitely a lot of different ways to use this sound. And this did kind of end up becoming anatomy of a sound a little bit too. I think I'll just call it that now. And I don't even know how long I've been talking, probably half hour, but it's time to get off of here, I suppose. I do have some other things to do today. But thanks for watching and hope you enjoy this.